The lights dimmed at London's O2 Arena on Friday night, July 25th. But no one in that sold-out crowd could have predicted what was about to unfold. What started as another Alice Cooper concert would transform into one of the most emotionally charged tributes rock and roll has ever witnessed. And at the center of it all was Johnny Depp, not the Hollywood heartthrob we know from the silver screen, but a grieving musician honoring a fallen legend in the most powerful way he knew how. Just 3 days earlier, the music world had been shattered. Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness himself, had passed away at age 76, leaving behind a legacy that had shaped generations of rock and roll rebels. The announcement came like a thunderbolt, even though fans had watched Ozzy battle Parkinson's disease for years. His family's statement was simple, dignified, and heartbreaking. The man who had given voice to outcasts and misfits around the world was finally at peace. But grief in the rock community doesn't happen in silence. It happens on stage, with power, chords, and raw emotion. And nobody understood this better than Alice Cooper, Ozzy's longtime friend and fellow shock rock pioneer. Cooper had been scheduled to perform at the O2 that Friday night. But as he stood backstage, the weight of loss hung heavy in the air. How do you celebrate rock and roll when one of its greatest voices has been silenced forever? The answer came in the form of an unexpected phone call. Johnny Depp, who had been quietly mourning Ozzy's passing in his own way, reached out to Cooper with a simple request. He wanted to honor their fallen friend, not with words, but with music. Not as Captain Jack Sparrow or Edward Scissorhands, but as Johnny the guitarist who had always found solace in the language of rock and roll. To understand the depth of this moment, you have to understand Johnny Depp's relationship with music. Long before he became one of Hollywood's most recognizable faces, Depp was a musician first. He'd formed his first band, The Kids, when he was just 16, dreaming not of movie stardom, but of rock and roll glory. Even as his acting career soared, music remained his first love, his sanctuary, his truth. He'd played with legends like Keith Richards, formed the supergroup Hollywood Vampires with Alice Cooper and Joe Perry, and never missed an opportunity to pick up his guitar when the cameras stopped rolling. But this wasn't about showcasing his musical talents. This was about something far more profound, the unbreakable bond between musicians who understand that sometimes, when words fail, only music can heal. The crowd at the O2 had no idea what was coming. They'd arrived expecting Alice Cooper's theatrical spectacle, complete with snakes, guillotines, and all the dark circus elements that had made him a legend. What they got instead was something infinitely more precious, a moment of pure, unfiltered emotion that money can't buy and Hollywood can't manufacture. When Cooper took the stage, you could feel the shift in energy. This wasn't going to be a typical show. The veteran performer, now 77 and still commanding every inch of the stage, addressed the crowd with uncharacteristic vulnerability. He spoke about friendship, about loss, about the family that rock and roll creates between artists who might seem like unlikely allies to the outside world. Tonight isn't just about entertainment, Cooper told the hushed arena. Tonight is about honoring someone who changed all of our lives. Someone who showed us that being different wasn't something to hide, it was something to celebrate. And then, without fanfare or announcement, Johnny Depp walked onto that stage. The crowd erupted. But not with the typical celebrity worship that usually greets the Pirates of the Caribbean star. This was different. This was recognition of something sacred happening before their eyes. Depp, dressed in his signature bohemian style, but carrying his guitar like a weapon of emotional warfare, took his place beside Cooper. At 62, the actor looked every bit the rock star he'd always been at heart. His weathered hands found their position on the fretboard with the muscle memory of decades spent in rehearsal rooms and recording studios. But it was his eyes that told the real story. They carried the weight of genuine grief. the kind that can only be processed through the cathartic power of music. The song choice was perfect in its simplicity. Paranoid, Black Sabbath's 1970 masterpiece that had launched Ozzy Osbourne from working-class Birmingham. The performance didn't end with Paranoid. As if reading the room's collective desire for more healing, Cooper and Depp launched into Crazy Train, another Ozzy classic that had the entire venue singing at the top of their lungs. This time, Depp's guitar seemed to channel not just technical skill, but actual catharsis. You could see it in his face, the tight concentration giving way to something closer to release. The kind of emotional purging that music provides better than any therapy session. The inclusion of original Alice Cooper band members, Dennis Dunaway, Neil Smith, and Michael Bruce, added another layer of significance to the evening. These men had witnessed the birth of shock rock, had been there when the boundaries of performance were first being pushed and redefined. Having them on stage alongside Depp and Cooper created a bridge between rock's past and present. A reminder that the music they were playing wasn't just entertainment, it was history. When the final chord rang out and the last echo faded from the O2's rafters, the silence that followed wasn't empty, was full. Full of emotion, full of memory, full of the kind of communal experience that only live music can provide. The standing ovation that followed wasn't just appreciation for a good performance. It was gratitude for being allowed to witness something genuine in an age of manufactured moments. Depp's decision to participate in this tribute reveals something essential about his character that often gets lost in the tabloid headlines and legal battles. At his core, he remains a musician who understands that music is about community, about shared experience, about using art to process the things that life throws at us. His presence on that stage wasn't about boosting his public image or generating positive press. It was about honoring a friend, supporting another friend, and giving a grieving community the kind of healing that only music can provide. The choice to perform these particular Ozzy songs also carried deeper meaning. Paranoid and Crazy Train weren't just hits, they were anthems for the misunderstood, battle cries for those who didn't fit into society's neat categories. Ozzy had always been the patron saint of outcasts, and in many ways, so had Johnny Depp. Both men had built careers on embracing their uniqueness rather than hiding it, on showing audiences that being different could be a superpower rather than a liability. The tribute also highlighted the often overlooked musical connections between Hollywood and rock and roll. While the entertainment industry often treats these as separate worlds, the reality is far more interconnected. Depp's Hollywood Vampires bandmate Joe Perry wasn't there that night, but his influence was felt. He'd been the one to introduce Depp to many of rock's legends, helping him navigate the world of professional musicianship alongside his acting career. As videos of the performance spread across social media, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Fans praised Depp not just for his musical ability, but for his obvious sincerity. Comments ranged from simple expressions of gratitude to complex analysis of what the performance meant for rock culture. Many noted that this was exactly how Ozzy would have wanted to be remembered, not with somber reflection, but with loud, joyous celebration of the music that had defined his life. The timing of the tribute also carried special significance. Just 3 days after Ozzy's passing, when the initial shock was still fresh and the reality of the loss was still sinking in, Depp and Cooper provided exactly what the rock community needed: proof that the music lives on, that the songs Ozzy created would continue to bring people together, continue to provide comfort and catharsis, continue to serve as a reminder that being an outsider doesn't mean being alone. For Alice Cooper, the performance represented something particularly poignant. As one of Ozzy's contemporaries and longtime friends, he'd watched the Prince of Darkness battle through decades of addiction, illness, and personal struggles. He'd seen Ozzy at his lowest points and celebrated with him at his highest triumphs. Having Johnny Depp there to share in this final tribute meant that Cooper didn't have to carry the weight of remembrance alone. The performance also served as a reminder of Depp's own journey with music and healing. Throughout his well-documented personal struggles, music had remained a constant source of comfort and expression. His participation in the Hollywood Vampires hadn't just been a midlife crisis or celebrity vanity project. He'd had been genuine therapy, a way of connecting with something larger than his individual problems. As the evening wound down and the crowds filed out of the O2 Arena, many carried with them something more valuable than concert footage or social media posts. They carried the memory of witnessing authentic human emotion expressed through the universal language of rock and roll. They'd seen two master performers set aside ego and artifice to honor a fallen friend in the most honest way they knew how. The ripple effects of that single performance will likely be felt for years to come. Young musicians watching the footage will learn something essential about what it means to be part of the rock and roll community. That success isn't just about individual achievement, but about lifting each other up, especially in times of loss. They'll see that the biggest stars in both music and movies can still find common ground in their shared love of the art form. For Ozzy's family and fans, the tribute provided something invaluable. Proof that his legacy isn't just preserved in recordings and memories, but in the living, breathing community of musicians he inspired. Every time someone picks up a guitar and plays Paranoid, every time a crowd sings along to Crazy Train, Ozzy's spirit continues to move through the world. The O2 Arena performance will undoubtedly go down as one of the most moving celebrity tributes in recent memory, not because of its star power, but because of its authenticity. In an age of calculated public relations moves and manufactured moments, Johnny Depp and Alice Cooper gave us something increasingly rare, a completely genuine expression of grief, love, and musical brotherhood. As the lights finally came up and the venue began to empty, one thing was crystal clear: Ozzy Osbourne's music and the community it created will never truly die. It will live on in performances like this one, where friend honors friend, where music transcends celebrity, and where the power of rock and roll to heal and unite is proven once again. The Prince of Darkness may have left the building, but his spirit, channeled through the guitars, voices, and hearts of those who loved him, will rock on forever.